Thank you very much for tuning into my channel, Gold and Middle Distance Races, covering the best of the middle distance scene in the 1970s and most of the 1980s. So today I'm covering Steve Cram's real big breakthrough in the 1982 European Athletics Championships. He was really just 2 years on from I think finishing 8th in Moscow. I didn't realize when I watched him in Moscow finishing 8th that he would become the great runner that he did. You know, I mean, we had others in finals, you know, like Dave Warren and we had others who were getting to finals, but you know, never really got into that class. And I had no reason to believe that with Steve Cram it would be any different. So obviously when I saw him in 1981 running very, very fast time in the mile, particularly for such a young athlete, I started to suspect that he was going to be the next great British miler. And obviously it turned out to be the case. So in 1982 was a year, as you all know, when Coe and Ovett had an absolutely wretched time. Ovett because he collided with some church railings and it put him out more or less for the whole season. Coe because he picked up some kind of illness, toxoplasmosis or something. He ran some good races, but he wasn't consistent and he was clearly having problems. And I mean, at the end of the day, for Coe, 82 and 83 really was a complete washout, as it was almost for Ovett, but for his world record at the end of the 1983 season. Absolutely disastrous for British middle distance running, and I would say for the history of world middle distance running, to have the two possible greatest stars the sport has ever seen knocked out in their peak years was absolutely disastrous. But anyway, this video is about Steve Cram. So in the race, he's going up against some fairly well-known names, quite formidable, some of them to an extent. We've got Nikolai Kirov, who came second in 1980, just behind Coe. So I know that Cram was quite worried about him. Pierre Delise, who I think ran inside 3:32 when he beat Sebastian Coe in one of Coe's bad years. When was it? 1983, I think. So Delise could be dangerous. Graham Williamson was a very talented British runner, Scottish, who I'm not quite sure what happened to him. I think that him and Cram were coming through at the same time, and I think Williamson may have had some kind of injury that ruined his career, but he looked promising, but didn't really fulfill himself. Busse was a dangerous East German. Ray Flynn, talented Irish runner, and Uwe Becker. So quite a good field really. And we've got the European record there held by Steve Ovett, 3:31.36. I think Sidney Marie had taken the world record from him, running just slightly faster than that. So, but it stood as a European record. Enough of me for now. Let's get going, and I'll be commenting along the way.
Williamson of Great Britain.
Oh, obviously we know that Coe came second in the 800. I'll be covering that race. I'm not looking forward to it, but I will be covering it. So it was another, silver medal for Coe. But anyway, let's get going with this.
Yugoslavia, Busse, East Germany, Flynn of Ireland, Becker of West Germany, Nemeth of Austria, Abascal of Spain.
Abascal, some really good names in this.
Tishenko of the Soviet Union right on the outside. It's Kirov holding the curve with Steve Cram right alongside him.
So they're bunching quite a bit there, indicating that the pace is not too fast.
Certainly the immediate rush is now settled down, but they're going at what appears to be a reasonable pace.
So Cram is in fairly good position there. It looks slow, and it is slow. It's looking like the 1980 Olympic final.
So as they come around with 3 laps to go,
I'm not too sure what Cram's strategy would have been here. Whether he was going to wait to the last 100 or so, whether he was going to put in a prolonged kick, because he hadn't really established that style at this point, I believe, where he would kick from about 250 out and just sustain it all the way. 58.68. Actually, that's not a bad time. They must have sped up a bit there.
Right on the outside there, 392 is Busser of East Germany.
So they're all in it at this stage. I mean, the first 4, 5, 6 of them, they're all in good position.
The European #1 on the clock this season at 333.5 over 1500 metres leading. Cram looking very, very relaxed and controlled in second place.
Cram's not prepared to take it on at this stage. I think he probably is going to rely on his sustained kick in the last 200 or 300 metres.
To try and establish a position and possibly push for home. We expected Graham to go at about 500, 600 metres from home. But in fact, the pace
see, with there being no Coe and Ovett in this race, there are a lot of runners here will think they've got a good chance of winning it. So nobody's trying to run the kick out of anybody. So they slowed a bit. So about 61 seconds for the second lap.
Williamson coming up on the outside, and Graham Williamson.
Now they're really bunching there quite a bit. Oh, yep.
Williamson has gone down there, and Steve Cram there in the melee.
Now that was amazing.
This is terribly, terribly early for Steve.
I remember watching this live when that happened. Williamson went down. Cram took off. I was impressed with the gap that Cram put on here, and I just thought to myself, has he gone too early? I felt that he would be caught, in fact, because he's going more or less flat out there. He's kicked from 600 metres out. But he's got 10 metres. It's quite a good gap, and it doesn't really look like they're hauling him back. He's really holding his own. I think this is when I started to believe that Cram was going to become a great miler, when I saw him running here. And given that Coe and Ovett were both out, I was jumping up and down for him. I did notice that they were starting to close him down here, and I was wondering whether he would hold on. His head is rolling. He's hurting. I don't know whether it was a gamble for him to do that. Yeah. Brilliant victory there for Steve Cram. There's Steve Ovett watching.
And Steve Cram, what an astonishing run and what an eventful race.
I'm sure that Ovett is impressed with that.
He ran 55.5 on the last lap.
55.5 second last lap.
Steve Cram
That's
he was under pressure on the last
given
lap,
that they were winding it
and
up
the
already.
battle for the
That's
minor
quite
places
impressive.
Was bringing the Spaniard and the Soviet athlete Kirov closer and closer. But suddenly they reached the point where they could give no more, and Cram did not give way at all.
I think that
Very, very brave piece of running.
I believe that had he waited, had that not happened, I believe that he would have kicked it about 300 out, and he would have won it by about 10 or 15 metres. Quite a respectable time there, 336.5. If you consider that they were, what, 159 at 800 metres, so you know that's not a bad time really. Very good last lap from Steve Cram, and so Williamson went down. I think they were bunching there, and Williamson was just unlucky. I think that his leg caught another leg, and he just fell flat. Really unfortunate. I don't think it would have impacted the race, because I don't think that Williamson was good enough to beat Cram. I think Cram would have won anyway, as long as he didn't do anything, as long as nothing significant went wrong for him. And he was clearly good enough to win this race, either over the last 150 meters, or in the way that he did it, or with, a fast last lap. I don't really see. I think that he was good enough to beat them any which way, frankly. So that was Cram's really big breakthrough, gold medal, and I could see Steve Ovett was impressed. Let me know what your thoughts are, and I'll be back again with another video fairly soon. Thanks for watching. Bye.